time for the Ron and Brian podcast. Get ready to fill your ears with the latest news, politics, current events, and whatever else we feel like talking about this week. And now, your hosts, Ron and Brian.
And here we are back again. It's Sunday night. It is 8 o'clock. That can mean only one thing. It is time for the Ron and Brian podcast, episode 173. I am Ron, as always, joined by my partner in crime, Brian. Brian, how the hell are you this week?
Doing great. It is Sunday. It is, we are neck deep in, this is a special time of year for me because the NFL has really gotten, its tentacles into my soul. College football has reminded me everything that is great about educational institutions in this country. Baseball is winding down into its pennant stretch, and I get to mock you for drinking pumpkin beer. This is my favorite time of year, Ron, and I get to spend it with you.
All right, fantastic. Well, let's get it started then with those drinks of the week.
Drink of the week.
Na zdrowie.
Salud.
Drink of the week.
Pleasure. Who's?
Drink of the week. Drink of the week. Drink of
Brian,
the week.
what did you bring to the table to drink this week?
Listen, Jackalope Brewery is just Jackalope Brewing Company. They are huge fans of the podcast, and they sent me something called Thunder Ann. You're going to say, what is Thunder Ann? Ron, Thunder Ann is an American pale ale coming in at a 5.5 ABV. It's brewed to highlight beautiful citrusy American hops. She comes off almost tropical with notes of apricot and mango, in addition to the citrus bouquet. Honey and biscuit malts contribute to the body as well, making it a friendly yet bold American pale ale. This here is Thunder Ann.
All right, drink up, my friend. Let us know your thoughts on that ale.
Oh, it's pretty good.
All right.
It's pretty good. First off, it says America. Look at this color. This color does not say Indian Pale Ale. This is American Pale Ale.
Nice.
So it reminds me of patriotism. I am a true patriot, Ron.
You are.
So I'm drinking American Pale Ale Thunder Ann from Jackalope Brewing Company. I'd rate it 3 out of 5 stars. Ron, what have you got going on this week?
What I have going on this week, Brian, it's a new attitude. It's an attitude that's not going to let you bully me anymore. It's not going to let you judge me for my beer choices. It's not going to let you push me around. If I want a pumpkin beer, I'm going to drink a pumpkin beer, and I'm going to support local breweries while doing that. From the good folks at Conshohocken Brewing, this is Nightmare on East Elm Street. This is their entry in the pumpkin ale category, brewed with honey malt, pumpkin puree, spices, and yes, Brian, lactose. Nightmare on East Elm Street is pumpkin pie in a glass. It clocks at 5.8%. I actually had this on tap at a restaurant the other night before I even knew it was a pumpkin ale, and it was very, very tasty. So let me see how the canned version is.
That's got a deep.
Hold on.
It is a deep color right there. I hope you can handle it.
It is. It's actually even better from the can than it is on tap. You can actually get those spices a little bit more.
Look at that. That is just so basic. So basic. Yet you're wearing what would not be construed as a fall shirt.
No.
For the people that are watching this on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch, you can see that you are wearing a very colorful do I dare say a Hawaiian shirt?
Not quite Hawaiian. It's got some blue flamingos on it. We were out at a local arts festival today. It was a beautiful day here in the suburbs of Philadelphia. So I decided to, it was party time, Brian, and this is one of my party shirts. And the party continues here tonight with my drink of the week. Screw you. But cheers to you, my friend. I say it in love. And maybe next week I will not have a pumpkin beer, but you never know.
if knowing my how much I loathe pumpkin beers, I think that the best thing you can do is drink pumpkin beers through Thanksgiving every week.
That may be a challenge that I'm willing to take up.
Now, you mentioned Conshohocken Brewing Company. Now, is that the brewery down in Philadelphia that was so hit during the recent floods?
That was Manayunk Brewery, but I can see where they're very similar words. I can see where you get it mixed up a little bit. Manayunk is in Manayunk, and Conshohocken Brewing is in Conshohocken.
Now, are they both considered Philadelphia?
They are both considered Philadelphia, yes.
So it's okay if I just say they're both Philadelphia.
Yeah, you could do that. They use best local wood for their beers.
No wonder it tastes like piss. Just kidding. It's actually quite good beer. I was there. I don't know that as a New Yorker, I would be in a position where I would trust Philadelphia wood.
Understood.
Ooh.
Hoagie.
Ooh.
All right.
Hoagie.
All right. In the meantime, we've got racism on tap.
This
Week
in
racism.
racism.
Another solid 2 pages of racism this week, Brian. But again,
America, stop it.
We will keep it to 10 minutes or less. Hopefully these qualify as horrible stories in your book this week. Let us start the clock now. A Tennessee man faces several charges, including attempted murder, after authorities say he shot his neighbor and later threatened to kill a Clarksville police detective, all following a racially charged altercation last month. On Friday, August 27th, Stephen Andrew Russell, a white man, was charged with attempted murder after his neighbor was found with multiple gunshot wounds. Russell is accused of tormenting his neighbor to the point the neighbor took action and struck the man with his walking cane. That's when Russell reportedly pulled out a .22 caliber revolver and fired at the victim, hitting his arm. Russell kept firing until he emptied his weapon before striking the man one last time, then fled the scene. He admitted to shooting his neighbor, claiming he feared for his life. He also expressed happiness over shooting the victim and wished death upon the man, whom he used racial names for when referring to him. When informed that the victim would survive, Russell told authorities he would kill him again and shoot him between the eyes. After learning of his charges, the man reportedly became even more irate, said he still had the weapon, and following his release, he would kill the lead detective. Capitol Police have arrested a California man with multiple knives in his swastika-painted truck near the DNC headquarters Monday morning. 44-year-old Donald Craighead of Oceanside, California, was initially pulled over because his pickup truck didn't have a license plate, but instead had a picture of the American flag. When officers pulled over the truck, they noticed a bayonet and machete, both of which are illegal in the District of Columbia. Last week, a 43-year-old white man named Bradley Gummo was arrested in South Beloit, Illinois, after allegedly harassing a black woman and her 2 children. South Beloit police officers responded to a call about a white male yelling racial slurs at a family. Once on the scene, officers say racial slurs were being yelled, and the suspect made threatening motions and gestures to an adult female and 2 children. Gummo was taken into custody and charged with 3 counts of hate crime, 1 felony count of making a false 911 call, and resisting arrest. The city of Philadelphia will pay $2 million to Rikia Young, a black woman who was pulled from her car, separated from her toddler, and then beaten by officers after she unknowingly drove into a protest over the police shooting death of Walter Wallace Jr. She had tried to make a 3-point turn to get away from the protest when officers smashed out her windows with their batons. Her hearing impaired toddler lost his hearing aids during the incident, while the National Fraternal Order of Police posted a photo of her young son in the arms of an officer on Facebook with the caption, quote, "This child was lost during the violent riots in Philadelphia, wandering around barefoot in an area that was experiencing complete lawlessness. The only thing this Philadelphia police officer cared about in that moment was protecting this child." After the uproar, the Fraternal Order of Police took the post down, but Young has filed a lawsuit against them seeking damages for invasion of privacy and infliction of emotional distress. Local media reports that both an officer and sergeant were fired in May due to this incident, and another 15 officers are currently awaiting disciplinary proceedings. A Florida sheriff's deputy was fired after telling an incarcerated person that he looked like George Floyd and asking him to say a few of the deceased man's last words, "I can't breathe."
No.
Deputy first class.
No.
Let me get through this one. It gets worse. Deputy First Class Rodney Payne made light of Floyd's death in July while working at the Lee County Corps Facility Community Programs Unit, and his supervisor immediately stepped in and told him it was inappropriate. Incarcerated people also heard the exchange, which one inmate said included Payne imitating gasping sounds. The Lee County Sheriff's Office investigated, and Payne was fired on August 26th. He described himself as a jokester and blamed the incident on his, quote, shitty humor. Footage released on Tuesday showed an incident that resulted in a 20-day suspension without pay for a San Antonio police detective. In the video, Detective David Pantoja is seen dragging a handcuffed black man, Joshua Coney, through a street. The incident happened on January 30th, although Pantoja wasn't suspended until 6 months later in July. Suspension paperwork indicates that Coney was unnecessarily dragged and denied medical services when he asked for them. An incident report written by Pantoja states that he and another officer were forced to drag Coney to the patrol vehicle after he made his body go limp. Pantoja also issued Coney a misdemeanor citation for failing to show his ID when asked, although that is not a citable offense. His suspension paperwork stated Pantoja did not thoroughly understand the laws and ordinances with which he was charged when he issued the citation in question. You would think that'd be part of the training, the laws and ordinances and whatnot. But that's not all, Brian. We've got some racism rewind.
Racism rewind.
And we previously reported on the story of the biracial child that had her hair cut by a librarian in Gaynard Elementary School in Mount Pleasant, Michigan, and the following investigation by the school district that determined that the incident was not racially motivated, but instead a case of good intentions gone awry. Now, the child's father, Jimmy Hoffmeyer, has filed a $1 million lawsuit against the school district, a librarian, and a teacher's assistant in federal court. Last week, we discussed how a grand jury indicted the officers and paramedics involved in Elijah McClain's death on 32 counts. This week, Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser announced the results of an investigation into the Aurora Police Department that revealed a history of racial bias and excessive force. The investigation found that officers regularly applied more force than warranted without giving residents enough time to respond to commands. Weiser said most of the underlying reasons behind these failures are systemic and severe cultural challenges created by several factors, including the department's police culture, flawed discipline policies, and hiring issues. Weiser noted that leadership must change the culture of the police and fire departments. And finally, Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis cop who was convicted in the murder of George Floyd, was in court again this past week, this time to plead not guilty to violating the rights of a black teenager during an arrest. Chauvin was federally indicted earlier this year in the 2017 case and is accused of depriving the then 14-year-old black boy of his right to be free of unreasonable force during an arrest in which Chauvin allegedly hit the boy with a flashlight, held him down with his knee for nearly 17 minutes, and ignored the teen when he said he couldn't breathe. Brian, that is This Week in Racism.
That is fucking depressing, Ron.
Was it? Was it
Yeah.
enough for you this week? Because I know previous weeks you questioned whether it should be depressing or not. You question the how bad it is.
Nah, that was bad. That was a bad week. That was a bad week of racism.
Well, unfortunately, that's how it goes sometimes. So we will continue to practice racism and bring it to you. But in the meantime, let's air our beef, Brian. It's Beef of the Week.
Ron and Brian's Beef of the Week.
Brian, what's bothering you this week?
Plain and simple. Plain and simple. My dental hygienist.
And why is that?
I have been going to this dentist going on, I will say, 6+ years. And I've commented on multiple occasions that the cleanings that I've gotten were the best I have ever received.
Nice.
Pain-free cleaning. Mild discomfort, yes. But, they're cleaning, they're digging, they're scraping. They're licking the inside of your ear. I mean, they're doing the full shebang when it comes to the dental clean.
Right.
This time I went Friday morning to the dentist for my semi-annual cleaning.
Okay.
Twice a year. Semi-annual.
You could also do.
No, isn't biannual every other year?
It can mean either, actually. So it's a little confusing. So semi-annual probably is better.
Let's go semi-annuals, much like I'm semi-hard right now. And this woman, when she was cleaning my teeth, it felt like she was taking the little scraper and did one scrape on the tooth, one scrape on my gums.
Ooh.
One scrape on my tooth, one scrape on my gums. 2 scrapes on my tooth, 1 scrape on. It literally felt like she was just stabbing my gums. They literally were sore this morning when I woke up. Yeah, they're still a little sore, like up over here. So very disappointed. Kind of ruined my Friday.
I'm sorry to hear that. Will you
listen?
Go there? Will you chalk it up to a one-time situation and continue to go there, or are you in the market for a new dental hygienist?
She was new. I've never seen her before. This was her first time dealing with my teeth. I'll give them one more shot.
All right, fair enough.
Ron?
Yes.
You seem to be in a very bad mood today.
No, I'm good.
What's got you? No, that was me just setting up. I mean, you seem to be in a very splendid mood. But what has got you this week?
My gripe this week, Brian, is with the General Mills company. I'm gonna tell you why. This week, or I should say last week, I noticed one of my favorite things, the Monster cereals are back in the grocery store. That's right, Brian. We're talking Count Chocula. We're talking Frankenberry. We're talking Boo Berry. And my question is, Brian, why do we need to be restricted to these cereals 6 weeks out of the year? Why can't they be on the shelves 12 months out of the year? Why can't I eat a chocolatey marshmallowy cereal after a second-rate vampire throughout the year? What is happening, Brian?
Ron.
Yes.
So much to unpack here.
Okay.
2021 has been the year of Ron. You have done so well. Not only did you go on a very mindful year of wellness, where you sat there and you said, if this is going to be the year I treat my body like a temple. I'm going to watch what I eat.
Right.
I'm going to count calories.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to shame overweight white women with stories of my success compared to their struggles. You went for your physical for the first time in however many years. You got your prostate examined by by a male. You then took it a step further and volunteered for a study on people who wanted voluntary colonoscopies. And you did go through with it and had that voluntary, purely optional colonoscopy. And you're going to tell me that in the 9th month of the year of our Lord 2021, you are going to start putting blueberries into your system?
Well, possibly. Although someone in the house seems to have eaten most of my blueberry, which is would have been my beef of the week, but trying to keep that on the down low. But this is what, listen, Brian, a serving of Count Chocula, 140 calories. A serving of Raisin Bran, 190 calories. A serving of Crispix, 180 calories. Actually, less calories in the Count Chocula. Sure, sugars, a little bit higher, but not surprisingly, not as much as you would think. So it's the start of a properly balanced breakfast. And no, Johanna, blueberries are not on the whiteboard. They're barely in the cabinet because I don't know where 7/8 of the box went to, because I have not been able to enjoy blueberries just yet. But I have to rush because they're only going to be in the grocery store till the end of October if I'm lucky, and then they go away for another 10 months.
Have you thought of making a trip over to Wegmans and just load up?
Well, they're right here in my Giant. I don't make that long drive out to Wegmans. It's a bit of a hike.
So you're telling me, I thought you were a Wegmans Whole Foods kind of person. You're going to tell me that you slum it regularly at a Giant supermarket?
Listen, it's close, and it serves my needs most of the time.
I'm frankly, I am disappointed, because you are a man of 18 different types of oils, not just the ones you rub onto your body. You are a man that sous vides food on the reg. You are a man who knows how to grill, and you are going to slum it with children's cereal. Just makes me very sad.
I understand. And Johanna brings up a very good point, as this has been my previous beef of the week. Giant has gotten rid of those damn little kid carts. If there is one good thing due to the pandemic, they put them away because they didn't want to have to worry about grubby little mitts all over them. So it's a little easier to shop these days.
That was a red herring, because the idea of the kids, they were never going to be spreaders of COVID-19. We all know that children, if a child can fit on one of those kid shopping carts, they don't have the receptors. They're too young. So that was never a logical reason for putting those away.
I think it was more a case of like the grubby parents kind of handling them.
Yeah.
So now this is
Ew.
So Billy was saying there is a Monster Mash cereal. It actually has not 4, not 6, 5 monster cereals. Boo Berry, Count Chocula, Frankenberry, which we've discussed, as well as Fruit Brute and Fruity Yummy Mummy, which I always felt Fruit Brute and Fruity Yummy Mummy were basically the same cereal.
I thought that those were, I've never even heard of those two. Where the fuck are you getting access to these types of cereals?
I'm not sure how I would feel about that. Like, I can see all of the fruit flavors together. I can see your Boo Berry, your Frankenberry, your
Taste the Rainbow,
your Fruity Yummy Yummy. Yeah, exactly. It's like you're eating a bowl of Skittles. I don't know then how I would feel with the chocolate mixed in as well.
So you're saying the Monster Mash is really the LGBTQ of the cereal community?
I mean, they definitely the monsters have put their differences aside. The box.
Whoa! Did you just refer to the LGBTQ community as monsters?
Well, isn't that how?
Please clarify if that's. Oh, horrible! I hate to. I think you may be on Races of the Week next week.
See, I'm confused because it says 5 cereals, but it shows 6 different marshmallows on the front of the box. I will need to investigate this further. If you find a box of Monster Mash cereal, please send it to me. Reach out. Our producer, Matt, can give you the appropriate address. I would eat the bowl live here on the show.
Ron, you can get it right now on Amazon. Free delivery Wednesday, September 22nd. Do you want each of us to order a box of it, and we will have it live on the air next week?
Let's do that. I'm making it myself.
I will shoot you over a link to it.
Awesome. But on to more serious news. We are still obviously stuck in this pandemic that continues to go on and on and on and on and on. And so apparently we have heard a number of different stories about COVID, but I think this is a new one. Nicki Minaj announced earlier this week that she was not going to be attending this year's Met Gala due to the vaccine mandate. And why did she not want to get the vaccine? Because she claimed that her cousin in Trinidad refuses to get the vaccine because his friend got it and became impotent. Quote, his testicles became swollen. His friend was weeks away from getting married, and now the girl called off the wedding. So just pray on it and make sure you're comfortable with your decision, not bullied. Now, this blew up when she tweeted this the other day. It was absolutely ridiculous. Also, Dr. Fauci came out and said, that the vaccine is safe, is not known to cause impotency nor genital swelling. Even I believe the health minister of Trinidad and Tobago had to come out and say, we have not had any testicle swelling incidents as a result of the vaccinations. Brian, you are a man with both the antibodies and the vaccine. Have you noticed any unusual swelling in your genital area since either of that happened?
Yes, and I'll tell you why. I've been more aroused at being waxed and vaxxed that I've been half chub now since March.
I mean, don't they usually say after 4 hours you should consult with your doctor?
That's only full chub. That's when the tissue starts dying in the penile shaft. I'm half chub, so we're good on that front. No, ladies and gentlemen, here, Nicki Minaj spouting out nonsense. I believe that there is no factual basis for the argument that the COVID-19 vaccine causes your testicles to swell. We've heard lots of lies about the COVID-19 vaccine. We've heard that it's Bill Gates's way to track society. We've heard that it's part of the World Health Organization to weed weeding out society and population control. We've heard how people with Pfizer think they're equal to the people who have Moderna. We've heard these rumors.
This time's gotta stop. Thought I was going to make it through the whole episode. Not to cut you off, but yes, we've heard rumors. But again, as we have discussed last week, we are now broadcasting in full 5G Fauci vision. So again, we said we encourage you to get the vaccination. The microchip that will be implanted in you, along with the vaccine, will allow you to log in to our YouTube account, Facebook, Twitch, or download our podcast. Yes, a number of people reached out to us this week regarding the reports that microchips were also placed in the horse paste that people have been treating themselves with. So we are working to rectify that situation so that those that have treated themselves with the ivermectin cannot break through the Fauci vision safety that you have with this podcast.
But what's so great about the Fauci vision is that it automatically detects the presence of this microchip and allows you, as a vaccinated human being, to be able to access this podcast. Now, for those people that are watching right now, we know because of Fauci vision and the technology that has been produced in the past year and a half, that if you are not vaccinated, you are unable to access this program. Your screen on YouTube becomes blurred. Audio is chopped off. If you're accessing it from Twitch, you actually start developing a twitch and you're unable to pay attention to the show. If you're watching this on Facebook, you automatically get redirected over to Russian Facebook, where you are provided nothing but propaganda about Vladimir Putin. So Fauci Vision really is making this show safer, not just for the viewers, not just for America, but for the world in its entirety. And that is the thing that has made the world a better place. I really thought you were going to cut me off there. I could tell.
You're on a roll for that one. But you know what this implementation of Fauci Vision has really done is it has enraged the unvaccinated to the point that they decided to, some of them, to coin a new phrase from themselves. One of them being conservative influencer Lindsay Marie last week, posting and saying, I refuse to be referred to as unvaccinated moving forward. I want everyone to now call me pure blood, hashtag Harry Potter, hashtag pure blood, and hashtag unvaccinated.
As a unindoctrinated individual, what does Harry Potter have to do with that?
Apparently, and I have not read the Harry Potter series either.
Harry Potter? No. That was a German movie that was produced in the German underground, also known as a Scheisse flick, Harry Potter, where all actors were 18 and over. But it was the story of this time's gotta stop.
Anyway, so apparently those wizards and warlocks with the most magical progeny were referred to as purebloods, or some referred to as half-bloods, as opposed to muggles, mere humans who practice magic.
Now, if you go back and listen to the verbiage that you read about how this woman produced this thought, it was, I refuse to be called something, and I want people to refer to me as, which is really just a perfect glimpse of the world that we live in, which is that you are an individual imposing your will on others. I refuse to be called something. Lady, you're going to be called things, whether you like it or not. That is the world we live in. You cannot control other people. I request to be called pureblood. No, you can request all the fucking you want, but that doesn't mean we're gonna follow through with it.
And in response to that post, another TikToker posted, in like 5-10 years, maybe less, all the people who are unvaccinated, we're going to be hunted. You're not going to be hunted. No one wants to be around you.
I won't go that far. Would you? Let me ask you a question.
If you're annoying enough to want to use a Harry Potter reference, odds are I'm probably going to stay away from you.
Fair enough. That is a valid point, Ron. Harry Potter, I cannot fuck with. Yeah. The Twilight people were weird. Lord of the Rings folks just were a step too far. Game of Thrones, people that read the books. TV show, entertaining, but I don't know about the book shit.
I would agree with you.
Sorry.
This has got to stop.
Now, this is kind of a sad statistic that was put out on Huffington Post here. Based on they did the math, and now we're upwards of around 664,000 people across the country having died of COVID-19. So that means 1 in 500 people in the U.S. have died of the coronavirus. Almost 0.2% of neighbors, friends, and loved ones. And actually, the CDC estimates that number to be even higher. They estimate it at around 767,000 due to the lack of effective testing at the beginning of the pandemic.
Jesus.
Number. And I think we had discussed earlier this year that 2020 was the first year, I think, since World War II, where the population of the United States actually declined from the previous year.
Yeah, but everything is cyclical, Ron. I mean, much like climate change and global warming, we know that the Earth has gone through periods of time where it has cooled off and then warmed up. I think life expectancy, in America, just similar to climate change, has gone through periods of time where it has gotten longer and shorter, longer and shorter, longer and shorter. This time's gotta stop.
Now I think you're just trying to get the clip played. I feel like you're just trying to get me to cut you off.
There is that moment, that glimmer that I see in your eyes when you've checked out, and then you realize that I'm still talking, and I see that glimmer in your eye of just mischief. And that glimmer is what I go for.
That's what you live for.
Now, that is the glimmer is something I saw recently in your wife's eyes as she was pouring herself her third box of blueberry cereal. Yes.
I will put the Monster Mash on a high enough shelf where she cannot reach it. Which really is just the second shelf. That would really be. She's a short woman.
That
little legs.
That is harsh.
One more COVID story because kind of made us chuckle a little bit. This is what is this? Florida, Hillsborough County.
Hillsborough County, which is Tampa Bay, is the big town there. Tampa Bay, St. Petersburg, Port St. Lucie.
This has got to stop.
So the Republican Party in Hillsborough County alerted federal election regulators Tuesday that it might file its monthly campaign finance reports late because a key member of the organization died from COVID-19. This is a gentleman by the name of Greg Prentice. He developed and maintained software that electronically tracked donations to the Hillsborough County GOP and supplied data for the monthly finance reports. Not an issue of getting the information, but apparently an issue of that no one else in the Hillsborough County GOP knows how to operate this guy's software.
What software was it? WordPerfect?
I don't know. Apparently it's a software. Maybe it's in QuickBooks. I don't know. But he designed it himself, and apparently no one else knows how to operate it.
And he's dead.
He passed away suddenly from COVID-19 back on September 11th.
So what you're saying is that he was a purebred.
He
pure blood.
It could have been. It really doesn't. It doesn't address his vaccination status. But Hillsborough County GOP has leaned into the more conservative, conspiratorial realm of the party. So very possible. They also hosted Marjorie Taylor Greene for a dinner back in August.
I'm going to tell you something. That lady has got wife number 3 written all over her.
Next up, it's we're not going away from COVID just yet because this is our favorite new COVID-based bit that everybody loves. That's right. It is time for Dead Anti-Vaxxer of the Week.
Dead Anti-Vaxxer of the Week.
So we really have our first, I guess you would call it an honorable mention, one that we technically could not award as our Dead Anti-Vaxxer of the Week. This is the story about Callie Cook. She was a 4-year-old girl living in Texas. She passed away suddenly from COVID-19, which many say that she likely contracted from her mother, a staunch anti-vaxxer. She had tested positive the previous day and then got sick very quickly and passed away the next day.
This has got to stop.
Now, of course, the mom says, I was one of the people that was anti-vaxxer. I was against it. Now I wish I never was.
Honorable mention.
So, Callie Cook, we are sorry that you passed away because of choices from your mother. But Brian,
I wish she was still here.
Who do you consider for Dead Anti-Vaxxer of the Week?
Ron, do you have a photo of Bob Enyart?
I don't, but I can get one real quick.
I'm going to start talking. I would like you to get a photo of him. Bob Enyart was a radio host who was a self-proclaimed right-wing religious fanatic who urged a boycott of COVID-19 vaccines. 62 years old. He was very recently posting on the Denver Bible Church's website. He and his wife had refused to get a COVID vaccine over concerns that Big Pharma, quote unquote, had tested these products on the cells of aborted babies. Not sure where that came from. He was also an outspoken opponent of homosexuality and gay rights. On his old show, Bob Enyart Live, he would gleefully read obituaries of AIDS sufferers while blasting the Queen song, Another One Bites the Dust. Bob Enyart this past week died of COVID-19 after being hospitalized for over a week. He is survived by his wife, Cheryl, and plenty of hate.
Well, that is a shame, but that is your entry for the week. That is who you're dancing with this week.
Ron, I challenge you to find me a better dead anti-vaxxer of the week.
All right. Well, if I can, for your consideration, show you a
lovely young lady.
That is Veronica Wolsky. She is an anti-vaccine activist and a QAnon believer at the center of a harassment campaign against a Chicago hospital that refused to treat her with ivermectin. She has died from complications due to COVID-19. She became famous for promoting anti-vax and QAnon conspiracies from a bridge in Chicago. She was admitted to Amida Resurrection Hospital in Chicago 3 weeks ago. Last week, a campaign backed by some wonderful people such as Lynn Wood and Michael Flynn urged
nice
call
people.
the hospital and harass the staff with the demand that she be given ivermectin. Last week, the hospital said it was flooded with hundreds of phone calls and emails. That campaign continued until Wood announced Wolsky's death in the early hours of Sunday morning. In addition to harassing the hospital, there were videos that flooded online with Veronica harassing Staples employees, restaurant employees, Starbucks employees, just really making just everyday people's lives miserable, and also harassing first responders. So I give you, Brian, Veronica Wolsky, my dead anti-vaxxer of the week.
Dead Anti-Vaxxer of the week.
Now,
you know, Ron, I did my own research.
Yes. About?
And you know what I was researching, Ron?
What were you researching?
What are you watching?
I am watching, continuing to watch the latest season of American Horror Story, double feature. This is the Red Tide series. Enjoying that. Also watching Only Murders in the Building on Hulu. With Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez. That I have.
You highly recommend it?
I am enjoying Only Murders in the Building, and it was recently renewed for a second season on Hulu.
Now, how much of this show have you watched?
I just got through the third episode, and it really gets a little slow the first two episodes, picks up in the third episode.
Does pick up. I find it very enjoyable to watch Steve Martin and Martin Short, the scenes where they are playing off of each other. Steve Martin playing the straight man, Martin Short playing the humorous of the two. Not sure that it would be something that I would recommend to anyone. I would more treat that as a guilty pleasure, something that I would sit at home, close the door, so make sure nobody watches, log into Hulu using my fake email address, so this way they can't track me, using a VPN, so this way there's no way to tag my.
This time's gotta stop.
Now, I've been watching, Ron, this past week, ESPN aired a 4-part series in their 30 for 30 documentary trend called Once Upon a Time in Queens, it's a 4 1-hour part on the 1986 New York Mets. Growing up in Queens as a child, I was a huge fan of the New York Mets back when they were terrible in the late 70s, early 80s. I used to go to games on the reg when the stadium was empty. 1983-84 came by. They started to get better. And by 86, that stadium was jam-packed.
How was the docuseries?
Really well done. Much like every 30 for 30 that they have had. I would say this was, it's not as good as The Last Dance, But I feel like they probably could have gotten 10 hours of it. I'm glad that they only got 4. It didn't feel dragged out. Also, I watched what was the new Untold Breaking Point, I believe it was called. It was the Netflix sports documentary. This one is about the tennis player Marty Fish.
Oh yes,
who was a close compatriot of Andy Roddick.
Mm-hmm. That is correct.
Matthew Roddick, Andy Roddick. So the same time period, coming up with Nadal and Djokovic.
So a good documentary, that one as well.
Roger Federer.
Yes,
I didn't think it was that good.
Oh no.
It basically is a guy who was good, not great. Who basically has suffered from mental health issues, but I felt like they didn't really, they kind of addressed it in the way of like, this might be a spoiler alert, not trying to ruin it for anyone, but they really spent like a good, half to 2/3 of it just talking about his tennis career. And then suddenly the mental health issues pop up out of nowhere, right as he's at his peak.
All right.
And maybe that's true, but I thought it just kind of felt like if you're going to make it about a guy who, who's one of the first American athletes to really talk about mental health and the suffering that he did. I felt that it could have been done better.
And that is what we are.
No, Ron.
I think there's
Ron. Did you watch anything else?
No, I don't believe I watched or referred anything to anyone else. So I think we can just really move on from what you are watching. On to
Ron.
Yes.
Ron, did you watch anything else?
I watched the new.
Did you suggest that I watch something?
Possibly. I may have watched and referred to Brian to watch the new James Wan horror film Malignant, showing in theaters and on the ad-free version of HBO Max. Brian,
so you're telling me that there's people who are going and paying money to see this movie in a theater?
Apparently so, yes.
All right. Spoiler alert. We are going to talk about Malignant. It is in the theaters, allegedly. It is on HBO Max right now.
I don't think we need to give away the plot twists. I think you can just give a general consensus.
No. If we are going to address the fact that you turned me onto a movie that was so atrocious for my own painful waste of time, we must talk about why it was such a painful waste of time. Right. Ron, walk our fans through the plot of Malignant.
So the plot of Malignant is this woman who was she was adopted as a kid. She's in her 30s now. She's in an abusive marriage. And one night, something or someone kills her husband. She had like an imaginary friend when she was a kid, and so people from her past just start dying, and she's seeing visions of people as they're being murdered, and it just kind of goes from there.
And where does it go, Ron?
It goes to a very unexpected place.
And where is that place, Ron?
All right. So if you don't want it spoiled, I would say jump ahead about 5 minutes in the podcast. So you come to find out that Gabriel, the supposed imaginary friend that you're being led to believe is maybe some mystical creature or whatever, was actually a parasitic twin living on the back of her head.
So what you're telling me is that the vision she's having of these murders, the murders are being done by the twin that she absorbed in utero, that was born externally, still attached to her body, that looked like the thing from Alien.
Yes. So they
that she named Gabriel, but they were working off the same brain,
right?
So that doctors allowed this parasite to live on her body through the age of 15, if I'm not correct.
Roughly, yes. And then they cut them off.
Then decided that they were going to chop off what they could and stuff into her body the parts of this parasitic tumor that they couldn't chop off in fear of harming her.
Right. So his brain was still connected to her brain, yes, and tucked into her.
Now, so in the big reveal, when she becomes this alternate version of herself, she literally cracks her whole body backwards so that the back of her hands are now become forward use. She can walk backwards, but now naturally. And I forgot. On the back of her head opens up, and the face of the parasitic twin pops out. But somehow magically in the end, she pushes it back in. No need for sutures. No need for, even just any kind of bandage to mop up this freshly opened wound. No. It just closes perfectly.
And she's also can control electricity and is like a parkour ninja. It was very.
Ron,
I will give you that it was very over the top. And if you can have a little bit of a suspension of belief in reality and just enjoy the over the topness of it, again, I think it's one of those movies that people either enjoy or, much like yourself, they just have a great amount of disdain for.
This man directed Saw.
He did. Yeah.
This man did Fast and Furious 7.
Yep.
More Furious.
The Furiouser. I don't know.
This was not only that. This should have been an hour and 20. They dragged this shit out to an hour and 50 minutes.
So I apologize.
It was awful,
Brian. I will be much more careful when I recommend things to you in the future.
Well, no, just recommend good things to me. That was terrible.
I will go off of that as well.
Ron.
Yes.
Did we lose anybody this week?
I think the only worse thing to probably happen than your viewing of Malignant is the death of comedian Norm Macdonald at the age of 61, apparently having battled cancer for the last 9 years. One of the all-time great comedians. Would you agree? I'm
going to say, I don't know that I would call him one of the great all-time comedians. I'm going to say that he was a comedian's comedian. I'm going to say that he never appealed to the masses. I'm going to say that he was an acquired taste. However, I think the fact that the people that he had the ability to make the people who make you laugh, he was their top comedian. Right. The man, his ability to tell a joke, his ability to misdirect, his ability to say the thing that was right at the front of your face, but you didn't see it. The man, I think, was a comedy genius. Yeah. And the fact that he passed away from cancer after battling it for 9 years and having never gone public with it, never making it obvious, to the general public. He makes the Wakanda dude look like he was a publicity whore. The fact that Norm Macdonald was able to keep this a secret in Hollywood for 9 years, he will be missed. He will be missed. Did I ever tell you my Norm Macdonald story?
No, I'd love to hear it.
Many years ago, when he was on Saturday Night Live, my sister, when she was still living down here, found out about a comedy benefit that was taking place in a church on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. It was going to feature several cast members of Saturday Night Live, and we, at the time, we were watching it every week. So absolutely, we're like, let's definitely go. So we go. Bunch of Saturday Night Live people got up there, did some stand up. It was funny. Not great, but it was also, you could see these weren't necessarily, comedians who've been mastering the art. This was more just like you're seeing some very familiar people and they're just making jokes and laughing. So during the show, at one point, I decided I needed to go to the bathroom. I had to pee. Walked into the bathroom, and standing at the urinal, I heard this noise. coming from the bathroom stall. So I turned over to the bathroom stall, which was behind me, and I saw the 2 feet facing forward. So I assumed the person was sitting on the bowl and had just sniffed. Next thing I know, I see Norm Macdonald's head, somehow come above the bathroom stall wall, and I realized that he had actually been standing the whole time. He had just been leaning forward. He looks at me, I look at him, we make intense eye contact. He then waits a couple seconds and then opened the bathroom stall door, turned around, and immediately left the restroom without washing his hands. At the time, and this just shows you my naivete, at the time I sat there and was like, I can't believe Norm Macdonald took a dump and didn't flush. And it was only years later that I put 2 and 2 together and realized Norm Macdonald was doing coke in the bathroom.
Allegedly. I think it's important to say allegedly.
He's not here to defend himself anymore, so I don't have to say allegedly.
One thing you have to say is he is a guy that definitely never felt the need to change who he was to try and become more successful. This is a guy who was told repeatedly to cut out the O.J. Simpson jokes that he was doing, went on
did them.
Weekend Update, still did them, got fired because of it, did dirty work. People were like, you need to act, you need to take acting lessons. If you see the movie Dirty Work, he is not acting. He is just being Norm Macdonald the entire time.
He is being Norm Macdonald, but reading lines that somebody else wrote.
I mean, if you really want a sense of him as a comedian, watch his performance on the roast of who was the other guy from
Bob Saget.
Bob Saget, where he gets on and purposefully tanks, just does some of the most lamest jokes, and the other comedians on the stage, you can tell, get the shtick that he's trying to do.
Yeah.
He plows through this for a solid 8 minutes. And Andy Samberg, I think, tried to recreate that a bit when he was on the James Franco roast, and I don't think did it nearly as well. But that gives you an idea of the comedian that Norm Macdonald was, and he will be missed. He will be much missed, without a doubt.
Absolutely, yes.
Brian, I do need to congratulate you. I do need to give you some kudos because yet again, perfect in our NFL locks of the week. You were like, you took Bills -2.5 against the Dolphins. You're like, the Dolphins aren't going to show up, and they certainly did not. Buffalo winning 35-0, and you had the Chargers versus Dallas. Dallas was getting 3 points. You were like, you know what? Cowboys gave Tom Brady and the Bucs all they could handle. I'm taking the Cowboys plus the points, and sure enough, Cowboys win the game outright, 20-17. So you continue your perfect start to the season.
Listen, if I'm making the perfect start to the season, the only thing that makes me feel a little humble about the entire experience is that you are standing right next to me at 2-0 for the second week in a row. Last week, Ron, you sat there and said, listen, the Jets are terrible. The Patriots, they are way better. Patriots laying 3.5, a joke, lay the points. Patriots winning today 25-6 over the Jets. You also saw the Carolina Panthers getting 3 against who's the quarterback on the Saints? I forgot the name. It's not important right now, but we know that New Orleans is still dealing with the effects of Hurricane Ida. Smart pick. Carolina getting 3, win the whole game, 26-7. We move forward to week 3. Ron, who do you have?
All right. Well, we've got Arizona on the road going into Jacksonville. The Jaguars obviously still in rebuilding, even with Trevor Lawrence. Arizona -6.5. Take it. And then those hapless Miami Dolphins that couldn't score a point this week against the Bills. They're on the road playing in Las Vegas against the Raiders. Raiders only a 1-point favorite at home. Hard to believe, but I think that is a money line that I will take all day long. Again, Raiders -1 against the Dolphins. Brian, who do you like this week?
I've got the Steelers -6.5 over the Bengals. I think Cincinnati's true lack of effort is going to start showing. I also love the Seattle Seahawks this week. Love them even more, laying 2.5 at the Vikings next week in week 3. Let's see how we do.
All right. Last week, Brian, you had talked about the story of South Carolina lawyer Alex Murdaugh.
Yes.
About his son, his 19-year-old son, who allegedly killed a few people in a boating accident, and then
Allegedly.
his wife and that same son killed by a still unknown assailant, and then he called 911 stating that his car had broken down. He had pulled over to the side of the road. Someone pulled over to help him and shot him in the head. And yet the story got even more insane this week. Brian, fill us in as to what we found out this past week about Alex Murdaugh.
Okay. So now Alex Murdaugh, the story unravels. I will tell you act 3, and then we can go back. Right now, Alex Murdaugh is in jail, charged with some pretty serious crimes. Apparently, he calls police that he's been shot in the head while he was changing a tire on his car. Story quickly unravels. He actually has already admitted to hiring his methamphetamine / opioid dealer because he's addicted to opioids, by the way. He hired his opioid dealer to shoot him in the head to kill him so that his son would be able to collect on a $10 million life insurance policy, not realizing that his son still would have collected had he committed suicide.
Interesting.
So the public story now is that he is admitting that he hired this person to kill him. Police are now also going through the theory that he was never planning to be killed, that he had hired this guy to shoot him, but not kill him, so as to engender goodwill with the prosecutors and jurors, as there are theories going on that there is further crimes that have been committed, not just the monetary swindling of over $10 million allegedly that he stole from his law firm. Also, keep in mind, his wife and son were shot on his property not just a few months ago. And there's also a story of a housekeeper who I think 2 or 3 years ago died in a slip and fall. The family of the housekeeper agreed to a cash settlement, but have never received a penny from the Murdaugh family. So this story has got tentacles. It's got webs. It is an enigma wrapped inside of a riddle, inside of a puzzle.
It's got a lot of layers to it. And
this is going to be made into a movie starring William Macy. I'm calling it now. Book it, people. William Macy will be Alex Murdaugh.
All right, we will continue to follow that story to see what else we find out. Going out to California, they are in the process of finalizing a bill that Governor Newsom has said he will sign into law, which will outlaw the act of stealthing, which is the non-consensual removal of a condom during sex. And it will allow victims to sue sexual partners who do so. Brian, your thought on this?
Oh, this should be some type of crime. Absolutely. The idea that a man goes to bed with a woman, or a man goes to bed with a man, or a woman goes to bed with a woman, and they agree to certain safety precautions. And then during the heat of the moment, one party decides to take away these precautions without the knowledge of the other party. That is some pretty awful behavior. Yeah. The only thing that I can say is that if we are going to make this a crime, we should also make it a crime that if a woman is on birth control and has explained to her partner that she is on birth control, and then on her own decides to stop taking it without letting her male partner know in an effort to secretly get pregnant, I feel like that's the that it should also be considered stealthing.
Okay. I mean, I think that's tit for tat, if you will.
It feels like this is a law against male behavior, but I feel that the puncturing of condoms by that some women have been accused of. Women, and listen, I'm not saying this is a personal story. It's never happened to me, but I know many people who have had their wives decide to stop taking birth control as their relationship starts to unravel in the secret hopes that they're going to become pregnant and somehow strengthen the unity of their relationship. That to me is just as bad as a man taking off the penis, right? As he taking off his condom off the penis.
Yes. All right.
So I'm okay with that with stealthing being designated as a criminal act. I'm all right with that. I agree to that.
Speaking of laws being broken, this gentleman is back in the news. Former Greece actor and Brian body double Eddie Deezen arrested after a altercation in a Maryland restaurant. LaVale, or Maryland exactly. He reportedly became disorderly. He threw items, dishes, plates, food at sheriff's deputies. And he had to be forcefully removed. Brian, defend your progeny here.
Well, first off, I feel like he and I have the same chest hair.
We would never know, because you would never, I think you would never allow yourself, even in the case of a mugshot, to be wearing that deep of a V as Eddie Deezen is presenting here. I think that just makes him uncomfortable.
You think that I would take that if I was assigned that shirt in jail? I would just take it and hold it up like this.
I think you'd put it on backwards. I think you would flip it around and you'd be like, all right, this makes me feel more comfortable.
Listen, I think there's obviously something going on. I can't tell you whether it's emotional, whether it's substance related, but he's had a couple issues in restaurants of late. Maybe he just does delivery. I think somebody needs to put Seamless. Somebody needs to put Grubhub. Somebody needs to put Uber Eats. Somebody right now. Exactly.
Be like, hi, I'm Eddie Deezen from Greece, and sometimes it's not always good to go physically to a restaurant, so order the food you like in the safety of your own home.
This way you can't get arrested when you've got contactless delivery.
Listen, sometimes you go to a restaurant and you inexplicably find yourself sexually harassing a waitress or throwing items at local police. DoorDash prevents that from happening. That's DoorDash.
Use my code DEEZ, DEEZ, for 10% off your first order.
Listen, get a free dessert by using the code D's Nuts. Just a little joke between us and DoorDash. All right. Anything else this week, Brian, or should we promote the Patreon?
Let's promote Patreon because
we get ready to go over to After Dark.
Ron, I've done enough talking today. Why don't you explain to the people watching right now why they should become a Patreon subscriber?
All right. If you go to our Patreon, just go to ronandbrianpodcast.com in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. You can click the button that says become a patron. You can join at a variety of different levels. You got a lot of great perks, a lot of great swag. But one thing you get is access to After Dark, which is another show we do at 9:30 after this one. Goes usually about 30 minutes and change. If you are at the bronze level or higher, you get access to the live video content. And once a month, and it'll be coming up fairly soon, I think actually next Sunday will be our pajama party for the month, where we allow our Patreon subscribers to come on the air with us and have a good time. We are going to be rolling out a brand new Can You Beat Ron game next week. I am 1-1 so far. I was beaten the first time. I was triumphant last month. We'll see how the rubber match goes against our Patreon subscribers. But again, go to ronandbrianpodcast.com, find out more about it, find our links to his social media, our web store. Everything Ron and Brian can be found at ronandbrianpodcast.com. Brian, anything else before we go get ready for said After Dark?
Love you.
I love you, my friend. Love all of our listeners. Love our Patreon subscribers, just a smidge more. So we will see our regular listeners next week. We will see our Patreon subscribers in a few minutes.
Thank you for joining us on the Ron and Brian podcast. We're live each week on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can find prior episodes, links to our social media, and everything else Ron and Brian at ronandbrianpodcast.com. See you